uncontrollable woman. Do we have another questionable ass motherfucker up in here?
Hey, get in here. Dallas is about to start.
Welcome to the Ewing Barbecue, where we fight those who rape the land, ruin the air, and run roughshod over environmental restrictions. My name is Mary.
I am Takapa. Oh no, wait, I'm Josh. Sorry.
I'm Melanie, and I'm sorry you're Josh.
Well, who else would I be?
He gave me the
Who else would I be?
The Bert look, didn't he? You know, the one where he looks up from his book and just kind of pans at the camera.
Oh, he did give you the Bert look.
I got the Bert look.
If I'm not we, then I'm wearing the wrong underwear. But that's
we're missing Sarah again tonight. We're hoping she might pop in, but we're not sure. So
isn't she trying to gather evidence to help support the DOA in their fight to stop Takapa?
Right, yes, yeah. She is off on a mission from the DOA.
Yes.
Working undercover. Yep.
Very quickly, what's everyone been up to? Because we've been off for a little bit. And what are you drinking at the same time?
I am drinking water. I was contemplating drinking beer, and then I'm now drinking water. But what I've been up to is I started doing Pilates to get my completely out of shape ass maybe a little bit more in shape after all of that sitting around and drinking wine and eating Cheetos during the pandemic. So that's what I've been doing.
It's all good, girl. We all kind of did our own thing.
What have you guys been up to?
I was down in Disney World for a week. Did 200,000 steps, 90 miles of walking basically, and dropped 5.2 pounds while eating like a pig.
How many days? 8. 8 days?
Yeah. And then I came back to a snowstorm and World War III.
Yeah.
We won't go there, though. We'll leave that off.
That's a thing. Yeah. What have you been up to, Melanie?
Same shit, different day.
Yeah.
Which includes beer. Yeah,
beer.
I don't know. I'm just...
Beer.
Nothing
really going on this month. Last month. I'm going to New York City again. What else is new?
What's your fancy beer? My
fancy beer is Sweet and Sour Georgia Peach by Untitled Art Brewing with Pontoon Brewing. Both out of Wisconsin.
No birthdays to report at the moment, but anyone in the New England area, the 11th of March through the 13th, there is 90s Con down in Hartford, Connecticut, at the Hartford Civic Center. And we have one person from Dallas that's going to be there with the Hocus Pocus cast. It is Armory Katz. So I'll be going down. I've already messaged him to tell him I'm coming down one of the days. So,
I'll do a quick thank you to our Patreon members: Captain America, Sheen Pye, Lauren Bernheim, Anita Wren, and Kristen Carlano. Thank you so much for supporting us and helping us continue to do this thing that we love. If you are at all interested in joining the Patreon, we have just added several new chapters to our saga where we are reading Dallas by Lee Raintree for our book club. It's sultry and not at all canon. They have gone off. They've given Digger like a different wife. There's a whole thing happening. It's interesting. I'll just say that. And then we've had to edit some of the language in the book.
Oh my God. But, yes. It's terrible.
Yeah. It's...
And we've commented on it as we're reading it. Like, there were a few words that I refused to say. Like,
we're just not saying. We're just replacing them. We're just replacing them.
Or Mary would be like, ding, in its place.
Yeah. So. Yes, because I have the garbage bell now.
Ding.
So, when someone's garbage, you can ring the garbage bell. We also have, on the Patreon, we have outtakes. Speaking of that, we have outtakes from this show that do not make it on air for several reasons, and some of those is because they're not, maybe
relevant
of quality. Sometimes things are not relevant. We go off topic a lot, and then sometimes things are maybe not like things that we should put on the main feed. So listen at your own risk, and some of them are funny. This may be not acceptable. I try to get each episode down to about an hour and a half, and sometimes we record for a while, depending on the episode. So there's a bunch of that stuff. And then we also have a listener Patreon submitted topics. So this month, for example, we talk about if there would be a new Dallas series and the TV movies, if Larry Hagman had unfortunately passed away in 95 when he had all that liver trouble, like, would they have happened without him? Which was a really interesting topic.
He was weeks away from death when his liver came through. So
I remember kind of sitting and waiting for news, hearing about all that.
Talk about a cliffhanger.
Right, a real life one. Yeah. So if that interests you, which it totally might not, but if you want more Dallas content, that's a place to go for it. And we appreciate every dollar goes to just helping us to pay for doing this
to keep the lights on.
Anyway,
I also have the never made movie script that we'll eventually start to read at some point.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing. We're going to all have to take characters on. Oh my god, that's going to be great. Gosh.
But no, I really love extra content opportunities. It's just me personally. I like the listener questions. I like the things that make us think a little bit, and it's wow, somebody gives a shit about my opinion, really? Well, probably not. But, it's just anything extra that we can do for you guys, because, you're supporting us. What can we do for you, basically? So,
let us know.
How about if any listeners want maybe a listener profile so we can learn about our listeners?
Yes.
If they want to share anything in
questions.
How they started watching, memories of the show, that sort of thing, tell their stories.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And any questions you guys want to ask us, feel free. We will choose to answer them or not.
Also, if you don't have any extra cash to throw us, but you'd still like to support us, a really easy way to do that is to just go give us a like and a good review. On iTunes, because that would really that helps a lot, because that helps more people. I don't know, their algorithm or something. It makes more people see us if we get more likes and actual reviews. So that would be awesome.
We're not going to threaten anybody that doesn't give a favorable review.
Yes, we will.
Not today, anyway.
40 lashes.
In the meantime, over in the UK, Linda Pearl and Patrick Duffy are doing, I think they were doing love letters while they were waiting for the set to show up for Catch Me If You Can. And they're now doing that.
Yeah.
So if any listeners are over in that area,
I saw they were playing Ireland. They're playing Belfast, I think, this week, maybe?
Look it up and get over there. So
we got an email from a listener.
This comes to us from... I want to pronounce it correctly. Chris Carrion. He says, "Howdy, y'all. Let me first say thank you to all of you for putting this I can't even speak, man. Putting this podcast together. Super excited that the Ewing barbecue is a thing, and please keep doing it. We have a fan, yay! Second, allow me a moment to introduce myself and tell y'all my Dallas story. My name is Chris, and I'm a 41-year-old man who has lived his entire life in Austin, Texas. My Dallas fandom draws an interesting line through my life, and the way we all consume media has changed over time. Like many Dallas fans of our generation, I came to Dallas through my mother. As we all know, Dallas during its original run was appointment TV during a time before on-demand streaming, DVRs, or even DVDs. I have vivid memories of watching the latter seasons of Dallas with my mother. Funny story, so do I. Not my mother. Anyway. I can still remember being sad when Ray left for Europe and my excitement when he returned briefly to help the Ewings win the Range War. Now, I liked that. A lot of people didn't.
That was a fun thing.
Mm.
Bobby going all James, or, commando with the black outfit and everything.
Yeah. Chris says, I can still remember wondering how JR was ever going to get out of Haleyville, and then if he would ever get out of the asylum. At the same time, I would be thrilled if I happened to catch a rerun on TNN. To my young mind, it was like jumping in a time machine compared to what was coming out weekly, and catching an episode with Jock was like watching a ghost. Bobby's son being named Christopher was extra exciting to me, also being a Christopher. In addition, every so often one of the characters would have to run off to Austin for some meeting or other. In the years since the first run of Dallas, Austin has gotten a bit of a name for itself in the wider world, but back in the 80s and early 90s, Austin was a sleepy government and university town. Hearing Austin mentioned on national TV was not something that happened very often in those days. All these things helped me form a bond with the show that would endure after its cancellation. When the reunion movie JR Returns was announced, I was over the moon, and the final product did not disappoint. Personally, the thought of the show leaving Cliff Barnes in charge of viewing oil always made my skin crawl, so I was glad to see JR Returns fix this. Being born in 1980, I am right around the ages of John Ross and Christopher. As a result, getting to see those two have their own storylines in the film as teens really spoke to me at the time. As time passed and technology changed, I revisited Dallas. After getting married in my mid-20s, I discovered that my then-wife was also a Dallas fan. By this time, full season box sets of shows on DVD had become a popular trend, and I began to collect seasons of Dallas and start to watch the first few seasons in its entirety for the first time. The commentary tracks on some of the episodes were particularly fascinating to me. Never did manage to buy all the seasons of the show, and I lost the ones I had in my divorce, but got to see a lot more episodes in the first few years that way than I ever had before. Before my divorce, I did make a trip up to South Fork with my then-wife for my birthday the summer before the new Dallas started its first season. Not only was South Fork a really beautiful ranch, it was also buzzing with energy about the new show. In hindsight, I'm really thankful I got to visit at that time. With the original Dallas having been such a bonding experience between me and my mother, I set out to do the same with the new Dallas. Each week we would go out to dinner while the episode was being recorded on one of our DVRs. Once dinner was done, we'd sit down and watch the show together. Being in my early 30s at the time of the new show, I really identified with Christopher and John Ross's struggles to establish their own sense of self as men in the shadows of their legendary fathers. As I'm sure most of us do, I feel the new show was canceled far too early, especially because that meant that the last thing that happened on Dallas was. After the cancellation of the new show, time marched on, as did new technology, but my love for Dallas never really faded. With the rise of the podcast, and especially the Rewatch podcast, my curiosity was piqued. Could a Dallas Rewatch podcast be a thing? Much thanks to you all, it is indeed a thing. Combine that with the age of streaming I am now able to watch one of my favorite shows bell to bell for the very first time. What's more, because of your podcast, I do not have to feel alone as I do it. Presently, I just finished Season 2, Episode 4, Bypass. Listening to podcasts tends to help me do my work better during my workday. I've been watching the TV episode at night and listening to the corresponding podcast episode the next day. I've been trying to get in 2 or 3 episodes in a week, so I hope to catch up to present in the near future. Admittedly, this has been long as introductions go, but if you've made it this far, you have my gratitude. If anyone in the world would understand my Dallas story and what it means to me, it would be you all. Thanks again for what you do and keep it up. Sincerely, Chris.
Yay!
Chris, that was beautiful. And in the podcast, you haven't met me yet, but when you do.
Not if,
Right,
but when.
yes.
I'm sorry.
And I want to say that as someone that's gone around to a lot of the the conventions out there, if Chris or any of the other listeners have a chance to go to any of these and meet any of the cast members, definitely do it, because they are really nice people. Linda Gray, Patrick Duffy, anyone that you can meet while you have the chance, definitely do it. You won't be disappointed. And South Fork also has the Live Like a Ewing, where you can stay overnight. So if you really want to have a special occasion, head on down and stay overnight. You can sleep in J.R. and Sue Ellen's bed.
That bed's been used one too many times.
Okay, so tonight we are talking about Season 4, Episode 18,
Mark of Cain.
Takapa's important to me, Bobby.
More important than your marriage.
That's up to your mama.
Ray's feelings for Jock haven't changed just because he's a Ewan. Maybe a lot of other things haven't changed. Like Jock continuing to keep little secrets from me.
I think there's a conflict of interest here.
The way I see it, Senator, it would be best for everyone if you were to ask the Lieutenant Governor to remove you from this panel.
Are you asking me to divorce Sue Ellen?
You should do whatever it is you really want to do. The ball's in your court, JR.
It was written by Lee Markus, directed by Larry Hagman, and aired March 13th, 1981.
And some casting notes. Mitch's classmate, Jean, they're both in medical school, and she's played by Ellen Bry, who went on to play Nurse Shirley Daniels on Say Elsewhere. I think it would have been funny if her name was Shirley on the show. It would have been like Shirley Daniels in med school, and then she ended up at St. Elsewhere. But
Don't call me Shirley.
I just want to let you both know good luck. We're all counting on you. David Healy, who was one of the senators, the one with the dark hair, returned in episodes 303 through 305 as Chick Harvard. Lance Guest, who was one of the guys that was gawking over Lucy's photo shoot in the magazine, also played Steve Brewer on Knots Landing, and actually played a orderly on St. Elsewhere. So it's kind of funny that he's in the same scene with Ellen Bry, who was also on St. Elsewhere. And this episode was number 1 for the week. And Priscilla Pointer first heard that she was brought back to Dallas because her first appearance in episode 63 went so well. And she really enjoyed working with Victoria Principal and, you know, all that stuff there. And Victoria also said that of all the talented guest stars, her choice for one of her favorites was Priscilla, because she obviously shared a lot of time with Barbara on screen. And here's an interesting fact. Barbara Babcock, whom Larry directed in one of the episodes that she was in, she liked him very much as a director, and they worked together on Macmillan and Wife, where they actually played husband and wife. So Larry, JR, and Liz Craig were married on another show. And Monty Markham had a great time filming this episode in the Tryst because Larry Hagman had the idea of having the champagne and caviar on set for that
Very
scene.
80s, very fancy 80s, which I talk about later.
Yeah, I'm not a...
I've never had
Has anyone
caviar.
had
I want to
caviar?
try it.
Yes. It is
I
salty
feel like I'd like it.
AF.
So
I like Marmite.
that's how people... I like Marmite and Vegemite, but people don't know how to use those properly. You have to use it sparingly as a spread on bread.
Marmite, and then it's chef's kiss.
Right.
Okay, so caviar, a little goes a long way. It's kind of like
Less
you
is
put
more.
it in your mouth and it's like, yeah, it's just salty. It's like eating straight up like, okay, you get salt water in your mouth when you're in the ocean sometimes. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Imagine that in like little bead form. That's what that is.
So like smaller versions of capers.
Yeah.
Very salty boba.
And just
Like smaller
salty.
capers.
Oh yeah. Salty.
Salty
Okay,
boba.
Cool.
Oh yeah.
Nice. Cool. I want to try it.
It's worth it once with those, like soda crackers.
Yeah.
And Melanie, have you had Marmite or Vegemite?
I have not.
Oh. Well, you try that. We'll try the caviar, and then we'll all have a little chat and see what our thoughts are.
Deal. I will do
Sarah,
that.
if you're out there listening, that's your assignment, too.
Sweet,
You have
sweet.
to try both.
Yes.
That's your homework.
Yep. And I don't like champagne, but I would drink it if I was having caviar, just because.
Make sure it's a good
Reasons.
champagne.
Dom Perignon, top of the line.
Okay, now that I've had both in separate settings, champagne and caviar, what the fuck? Like, why?
I don't know. man.
It's just
people always-
it's just
at least in
flaunting
80s
your
movies.
extravagance. That's all.
Right, because they're both expensive.
I mean, like, not caviar, oysters or something.
And
like,
if
make it interesting.
If you're going to have caviar, make sure it comes from the Ukraine and not Russia. Thank you.
Right.
Wait, it's... Never mind.
And your vodka, make sure it comes from the Ukraine. Meanwhile, back at Ewing Oil.
Okay, so, Ewing Oil, all the Takapa dudes were, like, up all night trying to figure out what to do.
My favorite when somebody was like, that's... What Donna Culver... And then looks at
Punk Anderson.
Donna Krebs. I'm like, yeah, that's Donna Culver Krebs to you.
And I'm sure that this got you going when Punk said, husbands who can't control their wives.
I said, fuck that Punk. Yeah, ding.
Yeah. Garbage bell.
Garbage.
Bell.
Bullshit.
Garbage.
I put that in big bold letters because I said, that's going to get some comments.
Control their wives.
Ray gives him a pass. Ray's like, well, maybe they were just more savvy than we gave him credit for. And, Punk's like, bullshit. He didn't say bullshit, but he would.
You said they were just having a little tea party or something like that. And he's really...
tea party? I'm like...
Hit the bell.
Oh, my God. What a dick.
What was up with Punk's pattern shirt there? That was kind of funky looking. And you had Ray in his suit, and you had Harv in his creme de menthe colored shirt there. I'm like...
Harv surprised me. Like...
Yeah, I feel like Jock was supposed to be in this scene. And I wonder if, like, just Jim couldn't make it.
That's what I was thinking.
Because he really, like, he's missed in that scene.
Yep.
And Harv seems, like, kind of out of place there. Like...
Out of place, right. They were like, oh, shit, who could we bring in? Oh, we'll just bring in Harv and say, blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah, you can tell they're starting to scramble as Jim is. Mm-hmm. But, I do want to say that Jim Davis gets the actor of the... I'm going to give him the Actor of the Season award here for what he's fighting through. Yeah. And still able to do his... I mean, this is one of his biggest storylines, and he's dying in real life.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And he's pulling out all the stops, and he's not complaining. And from what Lee McCluskey said, and when we had him on, his behavior on set is just,
He's doing it with style.
So he's going to get my MVP of the season award.
So then we go to South Fork, where it's Bobby and Pam, and in this scene, Pam's perm is looking better. Like, I feel like it's growing out a little bit. Maybe it's
starting
not as
to
tight.
unpoodle itself.
It actually looks pretty good. But
I wonder how many.
Don't get too
I wonder if
comfortable with
the
that.
hair department got a lot of complaints, and they're like, no.
I don't know, because later on in this episode, but right now, it looks okay in this one scene. But then Miss Ellie comes home.
But they agree to put their problems behind them, so that was nice to see.
Basically they agree to put their problems behind them and make up and play kissy face in the morning, and it's actually nice that they're not fighting for once.
Right, because you should, as we've seen up to now, you have JR and Sue Ellen fighting, you can't have Bobby and Pam fighting, because you need balance. JR and Sue Ellen were getting along, Bobby and Pam were fighting.
I feel like they've been fighting for 2 years, It's just been so annoying. So,
but nobody wants to watch a TV show where married couples sit around and sing Kumbaya and hold hands. That's boring.
No, but I also don't want to see a married couple who, like, argues every single fucking episode, too. Like, that gets old. Like, just get divorced up if that's going to be a thing. And it's what I feel like Bobby and Pam have been. So I'm glad that they're actually talking, communicating, getting along. It's nice.
Yes. And Pam leaves for work, and Bobby's he's got his stuff spread all over that patio table. There's no room for breakfast on that table.
It's because he doesn't have his office together yet. So he's just, like, making that his makeshift office, I think.
Right, and he's looking for where to get that George Washington and Abraham Lincoln picture with the Lady Liberty that he puts up on the wall.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But then Miss Sally comes home, and she is still pissed about last night. Ooh.
You can tell when Ellie is pissed. Barbara Barbara dials it up.
And then Bobby is like, he kind of like suggests that she should maybe just like back off a little bit and she is not hearing it. Nope. She is like, nope, fuck that, not doing it.
She won't back down.
Nope. She's compromised her whole life.
Back down.
She's compromised her whole life, and she's like just done. She's like, I'm done. I'm done compromising for Jack and all these dudes. Like, I'm not. This means something to me. I'm standing up for it.
The camel's back has been broken.
Yeah, and then he's like, well, aren't you worried about your marriage? And then she's like, well, maybe you should be talking to your daddy about the marriage then.
Who never came home last night, by the way.
Who didn't come, right. And Bobby's kind of like, oh, yeah, it's probably a good point.
If Julie Gray were still alive, we know where Jack would be. No.
Ooh. Ouch. Yeah, probably.
Get that horsewhip.
Yep.
But Bobby says that swampland is not worth their marriage, and she says it's more than swampland. It's about preservation.
Yeah.
This is an episode about preservation.
It means something to her. Yeah. Preservation. Yeah.
The Preservation Society.
And then we switched to JR calling Leslie, and she's home. She's not picking up. She's letting it go straight to the machine.
She's screening her calls.
Mm-hmm. And then, so JR gets... Oh, Sue Ellen sees that JR's got the machine, and it just makes, like, a joke about it.
Having trouble with your help?
Having trouble with the help, yeah. Burn.
And then he leaves, and boom, Clint calls. What the...
Good timing.
There are no coincidences.
That's right.
Zero.
And there are phones everywhere. There's a phone at the patio. There's a phone by the pool. There's a phone in the thing. There's a phone. It's always where it's needed. I'd hate to see...
Pretty convenient.
I would hate to see all the cords running along the floors and everything, and just how they... Oh, we can't step on this. Got to trip that. Put the rugs down to cover all the cords.
That's kind of how it was back in the day, though. I mean, you did have phone cords kind of running everywhere.
Yes. And there were a lot more trips to the emergency room because people were tripping over cords and banging their head on the floor.
Probably true. Probably true. Clint calls to make a quote-unquote lunch date again.
Oh, there'll be eating going on, but not food.
Yeah, I believe Sue Ellen says, like, I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. I'm like, oh, okay.
She wants to go to the hot dog stand.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, so then it's breakfast, and then Jack finally saunters in.
He's looking very thin, but he's walking. And when I first watched through, and I have memories back and knowing the jobs, I always only remember the scenes where he was sitting. And even though he's struggling, he's doing a lot more standing or walking or leaning than I remember him doing. I heard that the writers and stuff would actually talk about where Jock's character was going to go, just to give him hope, in his later days.
Oh.
Just because he wanted to have something to fight for, and just...
Yeah.
So...
Oh, I wonder what they told him that Jock was going to do.
I don't know.
I would love to know that, because, I mean, yeah.
I know it would have been interesting to see more interaction between him and Ellie and people like Rebecca and
for sure.
Even Clayton Farlow was supposed to be a contemporary with them, and not... Right. He wasn't brought in as a replacement. He was brought in as a contemporary to give them people their own age to play off of and stuff. Yep. So...
Anyway, so Jock is still pissed, and Ellie says that, and he says that Ellie is the one that's causing all the trouble. Really, Jack? Really?
I'm sorry. It takes two to tango, Jock.
I think you're the one that, like, didn't tell your wife you were involved at all, even after you found out she was involved.
Right.
So... Yeah.
Yeah, so why don't you shoulder a lot more of the blame, and
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I know in marital discourse, there's both parties bring something into it, but he's keeping secrets.
Yeah.
And
Which then we talk about in the next scene with Ellie and Donna, when Ellie straight out asked Donna if she knew, and Donna has to tell her, yeah, I did. And then Ellie's just so taken aback, and she's like, well, why didn't you say anything? And then she's like, well, I didn't know the whole time. I just knew recently, and it wasn't my place. And Ellie thinks it was her place, but then she's like, we were hoping Jock would tell you. And then she's like, oh, yeah, good point. He should have.
And Jock has made a commitment to his friends, and he's sticking to it.
Yeah. Okay, well, what about your wife, dude?
I could call him Jockstrap Ewing at this point right now because he's being a dick.
Yeah, I think Ellie's just mostly mad because Jock is keeping secrets, as he's done their entire marriage. And she's just mostly since all these secrets are coming out, the wife, the kid, yeah, she's just done.
I mean, she knew that he had a relationship with Ray's mother during the war because he came home and told her that.
He did tell her, but I think it's a kind of thing that, she forgot about. Kind of, she knew it, but she'd kind of gotten over it. But the fact that there was a kid makes it different.
Right.
I think.
Right. That just that's like taking the knife and just scraping the wound. And she's tired of Jock.
Since it's I think it's mostly because it's seen as a love story that they had there. It wasn't it was just someone he just kind of slept with once and then got her pregnant. It sounded like they had a romance, and that's going to be a little harder to get over, I think.
Yeah, and we obviously weren't alive during World War II. We don't know what the backdrop of a World War situation is, and I hope we don't.
I'm not here to judge.
Right.
But
I mean, there were a lot of people that when they enlist, they get married right before they run off because they want to be married, but then they get over there and they don't know if they're going to come home, so they're pulling into any port they can. They're just
right.
It's a situation that none of us understand, and
hope never to. Honestly,
no,
I'm good with not knowing and understanding.
Yeah.
Yep. So then we cut to Leslie is waiting for JR in his office when he arrives in the morning.
And he leaves all those messages on Luella's desk when he finds out she's in the office. All those little slips of paper. And and we notice that Phyllis is back for good now.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Welcome back, Deborah Trinelli. We'll be talking with you soon.
Mm-hmm. And she's waiting there to hand him her letter of resignation.
All part of a plot on her part.
Oh, my God. And this is when it becomes so clear. Because JR is, surprised. He's like, isn't this a little dramatic? And then she reminds him that she brought to him everything that she promised. And this is the first time she failed. And it's I feel like there's a lot of plotting happening right now.
Right. Gamesmanship. One-upsmanship. What's going on in that little mind?
We'll find out soon enough. We cut to Pam at the store. She and Jackie are just talking, and then out of the blue...
That is the ugliest green silk I have seen. It looks like puke.
It's a very... I would say that's a very contemporary 1981 color, though.
Yeah, puke green.
Yeah. Very popular. Very popular.
I wonder if that's the same green that I'm thinking of that my dad calls baby poop green.
Well, do you remember when they used to have the brown M&M and then they had the poop brown M&M? It was tan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, people would call it the poop brown M&M because it was the tan.
I don't remember anybody calling it the poop brown M&M.
Oh, all around here, everyone was calling it the brown and poop brown.
Maybe they
do they not have that anymore? I've never even noticed.
No, they got rid of that when they put the red in, and then they put the blue back in. And they got rid of that.
Man, I'm not up on my M&Ms. But anyway, out of the blue, her mom is there, Rebecca, in the most fabulous cloak. I want that thing. That was beautiful.
I said it looked like a gray witch's cape.
Okay, that's why I like it.
Okay.
That tracks because that's totally my aesthetic. Like, it looks like a witch escape. Yes, and I said I wanted it. Yes, all true.
See, I know you.
But yeah, just the way she comes in, Pam, remember me? Rebecca Wentworth, and it's like,
Herbert's wife?
what are you doing
it's really
here?
awkward for a second there. She's just like, oh, okay.
And then it's like, hug, Mama's here, and it's like,
Well, they wait till Jackie leaves, and then the phone starts ringing more than it's rung any time that she's been in her office. And they're like, we need to go to lunch. We need to get out of here. Okay.
Can I put Pam's Mama, love?
I know. It is nice.
Oh.
It's a weird scene, though.
She should have come back a long time ago.
Yeah, she should have. She definitely
And when we
should've.
get to their lunch, I have questions.
Yeah, same. Okay. Yep. But before we get to that, we get to Bobby decorating his new office.
With that Washington, Lincoln, and Lady Liberty
Yeah.
thing.
Maybe he should get a decorator. I don't know. Just a call.
It's not like they can't afford it.
Right.
And it's nice to see Cliff show up and in the room with a Ewing and not be at each other's throats.
Right? I was thinking the same thing. Like, they're just talking to each other, and it's really refreshing.
They could have given those two a buddy spin-off show and had them go on adventures
really
together.
They could have, for sure.
And he informs Bobby that one of the committees that he's inheriting from Dave Culver is the one that's going to make the decision about Takapa.
Dun, dun, dun. Bobby's not happy about that.
No. And I'm sure we all have things to say when we get to the committee. Yeah.
We cut to Pam and Rebecca's lunch, and Rebecca tells Pam that her husband has died.
All right. Okay. He's Herbert Wentworth. He's been dead for a couple of months. He was a prominent person in the society. Don't you think it would have been in a newspaper and Pam would have heard about this?
Right? Don't you think she would have known? Because she seems really surprised.
I mean, he died in New York when they were visiting their daughter.
But they're not from that far away, right? I mean, she doesn't live that far away in Texas.
They passed through in some of those political event scenes.
Yeah. They're in the same scene. So, yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't jive. Did you have that written down too?
I didn't have that written down, but it's a very good point.
Yes.
She's come to, like, just mend fences. She's basically like, he's dead, so it's time for me to, like, I just want my family back. I want my kids back. I want you and Cliff, and
maybe her daughter can come live with them, too. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Right?
Big, happy family?
Yeah, Catherine, can't wait to meet her. And then it becomes pretty clear that Pam has not told Cliff about Rebecca being alive at all.
Nope.
Well,
and Rebecca's like, well, maybe it's time.
I mean, Pam didn't think she was going to see Rebecca again, so there was no point to stoking.
And I agree with Pam. Like, Cliff had a pretty emotional reaction to the whole thing. And then basically Rebecca was just like pushing them away again. Like, I can't deal with this. So she knew Cliff wasn't going to be able to handle that.
Yeah, there's no need to just re-salt the wound.
No, none at all. And now Rebecca's all like, nope, now I want everything. Now it's fine. And I feel like, although I'm glad she's reached that point, she needs to slow it down a little bit.
She's like, I can't drive 55 because I'm going 75. And she's like speeding down the highway.
Yeah.
She sold the house in Houston. Which,
Yeah.
she must have gotten a good penny for that, so she can probably get some nice apartment. But how good is the Caesar salad at this restaurant?
So Pam says it's the best thing ever.
Wow.
So
Can we take a field trip down there and test it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we should.
And then we're going to go to the Hot Biscuit for breakfast.
Yes.
Melanie.
Let's go to the Hot Biscuit. Hot Biscuit.
I want the Hot Biscuit.
And I want Joan Van Ark wearing the uniform.
Yep. And Pam's going to volunteer to help Rebecca look for a place. So that's going to be
because she
their
cannot
fun
show up for
bonding.
work whenever she feels like it.
Right. She's like, oh, let's take off tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I wish I could do that. I mean,
She never seems to be able to take off work for any of Bobby's shit, but
where I
tomorrow.
work, they have this policy that they want you to check with them before you make any outside plans in your life at all.
No.
Here's the thing, though. Your name isn't Pam Ewing. Maybe if it was Josh Ewing, that might work.
Well, I did when I had a picture with Larry and Linda. I did say I was their spare child, and Linda said, "Oh, you don't want to be part of this family."
Not wrong, dude. Not wrong. Yeah.
And then Josh Henderson and I went and did bourbon shots at the bar.
Nice.
Jealous. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, so then we cut to Donna and Bobby, and they just talk about how divided he is.
And she tells him to vote with his conscience.
Yep, because he's just like, I don't know which way to vote. And she's like, here's a novel idea. Vote your conscience. And he's kind of like, oh, yeah, I didn't think of that. Oof. Mm-hmm. And then Jock is drinking bourbon by himself in the living room.
Sitting in the chair with those big glasses.
Yep, just hanging, reading the paper.
Definitely his color is, you can see it in the lips. The lips are pale.
He looks like they put a lot of makeup on him to give him color.
Mm-hmm. So he didn't fix things with Ellie, and JR didn't fix things with the cartel. So we got some not fixing going on here.
That's true. My favorite part of the scene is when JR walks in and he sees him sitting there, and JR says, I should get me one of those. And Jock just goes, heh heh.
It's like Beavis and Butthead.
Totally.
Oh, God, I love Beavis and Butthead. So good. So good.
And JR tries to save face and says that he dismissed Leslie Stewart that morning.
Lies through his teeth.
You did not, sir.
You wish you did, JR.
You sit on a throne of lies.
Liar. Liar. Liar.
Ugh. And then he says he has a plan to get into the cartel soon. Like, okay, I don't think, all right, whatever.
He's full of shit.
He is totally full of shit. He's just faking it till he makes it.
That's right. Meanwhile, Clint drops the caviar and pounces on fur-wearing Sue Ellen as soon as she comes through that door.
This scene is like the most 80s decadent whatever scene ever. It's a hotel room with caviar, champagne, roses, and then, Sue Ellen comes in with her big old fur coat, and I was like, oh boy.
Again, the caviar and champagne, Larry Hagman's idea.
Yep. And,
Nice touch, Larry. Nice touch.
Yeah, nice call. But I think in this scene, it really, really extra works because Clint is really trying to impress Sue Ellen. And as they start talking and reminiscing about their past, and they reminisce that whole story about getting the hotel room.
Skipping basketball, skipping champagne, being $4 short.
Right, and like how they just didn't have money then, and like basically he was like basically if we would have slept together, maybe we would have gotten married. So it seems like he's been living his whole life because he's regretted that, obviously, and he's been blaming that all on not having enough money.
Only being able to get peanut butter and jelly and not caviar and champagne.
He basically just called Sue Ellen materialistic.
He really kind of did.
Yeah.
This is not how you woo her. Sorry.
Right.
What's wrong with peanut butter and jelly?
Nothing.
I like peanut butter and jelly.
I like crunchy peanut butter.
I like both, but if I'm making my own sandwich, I like creamy because the crunchy always rips my bread.
Depends what bread you use.
That is very true.
You can't use that cheap store-bought Wonder Bread because that stuff rips.
Yeah,
it rips when the wind blows.
That's the shit we had.
That's the stuff that rips when the wind blows, and then you got to cut off those crappy little crusts. For some people.
I wasn't allowed to do that though because that was wasting food, so I was not allowed to cut off the crusts.
Right. I like on a nice loaf of French bread, like the baguettes that Jerry Horn brought back with the camembert and butter.
Brie and butter.
Oh, brie and butter, yeah. I like the ends, the heels, because it has that nice crunchy round part and the soft in the middle. Yeah. Oh, I bet that would be good with warm peanut butter inside and fluff.
That would be really good.
Or jelly.
Anyway, so he's just kind of like, hey, they kiss a little bit, and then he's like, we really have to talk, and she's just kind of like, ha ha ha, let's not talk. She doesn't want to have to make any rash decisions. She just is enjoying it how it is.
She wants to go to Pound Town and not Talk Town.
She's enjoying that neither of them are available because they can just have their thing and they don't have to make any commitments. She doesn't want that.
Because they have JR and Alicia on the back corners.
Right. Yeah. And then Bobby goes to visit Ray. I feel like this is the first time we've seen Bobby at Ray's.
Yes. Not the last time.
Not the last time. They have some beers.
Some beers.
And he wants Ray to convince Jock to pull up Takapa. And Ray's just like, what? Like, are you kidding me? That's not going to happen.
And then it becomes clear that Bobby's a little brother jealousy going on here because Jock's spending...
Yeah, that really came out. Like, he's just like, oof. Like, you have more of his attention and time than anyone and blah, blah, blah. And
Ray's not having any of that. It's like, you get it. Too
Bobby's
bad.
telling on himself.
And for someone that wants to be called Krebs, he's certainly talking like a Ewing.
Which is also true.
It is, yeah. And it was like we go back and Steve was ready to leave the show before this whole brother storyline came up. So he's really playing it up to the
He wasn't really doing anything.
No,
so.
I mean, it was just, yes. Here's the feed bill, Mr. Ewing. Here's,
Yeah. It's nice to see him in an actual storyline. Good role.
Not getting duped on by JR for sleeping with Garnet McGee.
Right. And then we cut to Ellie having coffee. So she's sitting and having coffee outside.
Soundstage shot. Very obvious.
Very obviously.
Very obvious.
Yep. And it's like she's having a nice, peaceful morning, and then everyone bursts in.
And then she busts out when her husband shows up.
Yep. Ellie out.
But JR is trying to make his little JR comments here and there. Oh, Sue Ellen are shopping, and Bobby, getting to Austin, and all blah, blah, blah.
Then Jordan Lee calls.
And you see Jim I think he's propping himself up against the house.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jordan Lee is coming across like the pouty child, and he's going to get that bell a few times before this is over.
Yeah.
He's always so very dramatic. Dawn Star, Jordan Lee, JR. Like, you never notice how his head like shakes? He's like, when he's mad.
I never noticed it until this rewatch.
And the eyes look like they're going to pop out of their head. He's as dramatic as Laurie Metcalf is on Roseanne and the Connors. She just like that overly dramatic acting. It's like
right.
Overacting.
I have a line, and I'm going to say the line.
And you're going to listen to me.
Yep. Oh, so funny.
Breathe, Melanie, breathe.
I just love that he calls and he's all fired up. And they're literally like, what is happening? And then the Wall Street Journal calls.
Something about a policy statement. And Jock picks up the paper, and his head looks like it's going to explode.
It does. What in the hell has JR done now? And then we don't know. Then it cuts to the next scene where JR pulls up in front of Ewing Oil.
Funky music. Funky music playing. Drinkity drink. Drink.
He literally has no idea what's happening. None at all.
He's walking into an ambush.
Right. And it's hilarious because he has no clue. So he walks in, and there's just like a ton of people, and he's just like, what?
It was like almost like as many as when the Asian Wells and all those reporters descended upon the place.
Yeah. Yep. Because basically almost as big of news, because it's Ewing Oil and the paper putting their statement saying that they're pro-environment and
Preservation
against
over
strip mining.
profits.
Right. Which is, of course, total bullshit. And
Leslie's dropping bombs.
oh my God, that was amazing.
You dropped a bomb on me, baby.
I wrote, don't fuck with a media consultant. Just like, don't fuck with a babysitter. Don't fuck with a media consultant.
It was hilarious. JR walks in the office and they're like, Mr. Ewing, what can you tell us about raping the environment or something like that?
Raping the environment, yeah.
Yeah, he was like, I work absolutely against
Luella, can I see
all
you
of
in the
this,
office
yes.
for a minute?
JR does what JR does best. He bullshits the bullshitters and smooths his way over it. Is like, bitch, get in my office. Basically.
Yep.
And he turns that around and says, oh, yeah, we are, preservation, blah, blah.
Absolutely.
He's like, I'll tell you more than you need to know.
What is this shit?
The Mountain
my
Club.
God.
I'd like to see JR with the Mountain Club. The Mountain Club.
Right. Yep.
And he puts off the governor, who's called, too.
Yep.
Governor of Texas.
Oh my gosh, we cut from all of that shenanigans to Sue Ellen at therapy, just singing the praises of afternoon sex with Clint.
She's going on about her love making to Dr. Elby.
Oh my God.
Blech.
And he's just like, okay. Like, he doesn't
Dr.
believe
Obi's
her at
like,
all.
okay, so we're going to do this bullshit again.
Right, basically, so we're doing this again. And then she's like, oh, I'm totally over Dusty. And he's just like,
No, you're not. No.
okay.
But Clint is a reminder of the best part of her past, which she says is the best part of her life. And
Right. She's admitting it's all nostalgia. I mean, she's literally,
he does ask her, what about her child? And she loves her child, but she needs more.
right.
It's not enough.
Which, I mean, true, but yeah, I feel like she's not thinking a whole lot about her kid right now.
Nope.
But she says she just wants to love and be loved. And he's just like, okay, but maybe it's just
Don't
about
you
now and
want
not-
somebody to love?
Yep, and he's just like, she just said basically like the past was the best part of her life. And so she just wants that. And that's sad. Pam and Rebecca are house hunting. And okay, now Pam's hair is different again and it's shitty again. Now she's like got it cut in poodle perm again. And it was good for 2 seconds.
It's like the wet poodle versus the dry poodle, and it just gets all like...
Oh, Pam.
And then it's just Rebecca like, so when am I going to meet Cliff? And just Pam is stalling.
Why don't you settle in first?
Yeah, we'll just wait a little bit. And then we cut to Lucy's apartment, where that is a whole bunch of media in there too. Just way too many people for that small apartment.
The morning show.
Yep, the morning show, and she's being interviewed about being Miss Young Dallas. And
If they knew that she couldn't cook to save her life, her cooking as well as a
Right.
caterer.
she admits to that though. She's like, I can cook TV dinner.
Yeah.
And they think that's adorable. And then Mitch comes home in the middle of it, and she's like, surprise! I thought you'd like this surprise. And like,
Why would he like that surprise?
do you not know your husband at all? Like, he wouldn't like any part of that surprise. None of that.
Nope.
No.
He would not.
No, Mr. Ewing would not like any of that.
No, right. Oh, yeah. And they call him Mr. Ewing, and you can just see him just like,
He's
What
like,
you
oh,
want me?
hell no.
hell no. Right.
Oh, hell no.
Smoke's starting to squirt out the ears a little bit
It's a
here.
little, yep. And then he's fine. And then the one dude's being an asshole. And he's just like, hey, can you back up? Mr. Ewing, can you back up? More.
A little more.
A little more.
Mr. Ewing is backed up, and all he's going to do, enough. You know, it's like, out the door. Peace out, yo.
Okay, Mitch.
Well, he could have said Cooper.
Yeah, he could have handled it a lot of different ways, you know, other than just getting pissy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we cut to the committee in Austin.
All right. Yeah, we got thoughts.
Yeah.
We got
Yeah.
thoughts. Do you have thoughts?
Yeah, I do have some thoughts. So they're calling Bobby out on his conflict of interest, which he has. I mean, they have a legitimate concern that he has a conflict of interest on both sides.
You know, I've
Really?
working in a local TV studio, I've had to cover municipal meetings and this and that, and I have seen people have to recuse themselves for a lot less conflict of interest than this.
Right. Yeah.
It's conflict of interest. You're out. Period. Finish. This shouldn't even be up for debate.
You personally stand to gain money from if this goes through.
Right.
So
it's black and white here. There really shouldn't be any.
Yeah.
It's.
He should not be on that committee at all.
At all.
At all.
Melanie, do you agree?
Big, huge conflict of interest right there. Because, I mean, has he already had that conversation with Donna?
About the conscience. Vote your conscience, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, I was like, why did I... Bad.
Yeah.
Those are my... Bad, yeah. And you know one word that I keep hearing come up in all of this? Do-gooders. 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 Over and over and over. And it's like, why is that a bad thing?
Right.
Like, why is the DOA a bunch of do-gooders? I mean...
I think it's the same thing as now the equivalent would be woke. How they're weaponizing the word woke, right? They weaponize do-gooders.
And someone of Jock Ewing's mentality would be like, you got to control your women. You can't let them have these tea parties unsupervised.
Man. Yeah, the tea parties.
Jesus.
Last time there was a tea party, it all ended up in the Boston Harbor, for God's sakes. But there should be no discussion. It should be, you're out.
You should.
Please leave the room.
Mm-hmm. And then we cut to Jordan Lee, and he bursts into Ewing Oil, all huffing and puffing and pissed. And he basically says that JR can't sit with them at lunch anymore.
Because they're going to be investigating the strip mining operation because of...
And JR is basically like, that was going to happen anyway, dude.
And JR makes
like, yeah, well, it's happening faster, so shut up.
And JR makes some comment about, well, this was just to get some investors from the East to, these comments were to bring in investors to bring in money and blah, blah, blah. And Jordan's like, we're not doing business. The cartel and the Ewing Oil are done. Once again, they're done.
Okay.
Round and round the cartel merry-go-round goes.
Yep. And then we cut to Mitch at a diner, and I like this scene because I like seeing young people. I like seeing younger people doing things on the show. It's rare, so I always like when we see it. It's so it's like a college hangout where two dudes are being gross about Lucy on the front of a magazine.
One of them being Lance Guest, who ended up on Knots Landing of all places, and St. Elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then her name isn't given in the scene, but it's Jean, but I'm going to call her Shirley, as in Nurse Shirley Daniels, because they're in med school.
Right.
She basically heads him off at the pass as he wants to go pound these dudes.
She sees what's happening a couple of tables away, and she's like, and it sounds she's friends with Mitch. Obviously, they've been like lab partners and stuff, and she's like, okay, I'm going to stop. And I bet she knows Mitch's temper, so she just slides in there just as Mitch is about to get up to like punch those dudes in the face.
Can I get the notes from the class? You got them, right? Oh yeah, I recorded them. And those dudes are going on about waking up in bed with that and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice save though, girl. Nice save.
She's like, her advice: live with it.
Live with it, right? She's just like because she's like, it doesn't matter, just live with it, it's fine. And then he's just kind of like, what does he say? Easier said than done, or something. Okay, she's a smart girl.
Right.
She's a smart girl.
Mitch, Lucy's in your bed every night. She's not in their bed.
Why are you worried about it? Because she's with you, man. Who cares what anybody else is saying?
She chose you. She didn't choose these other people.
Exactly.
It's a job.
Yeah.
It's like being related to an actor or an actress, and they have to go on screen and they have to have love scenes with somebody else.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you go home to your regular family, and it's done.
Yeah. Because it's a job. Yeah. So then Cliff and Bobby come back from lunch. It's obvious that they've been talking about what they're going to do over lunch. Is he going to recuse himself? Is he not?
More funky music, though. More funky music.
And then he goes in and
Cliff is trying to convince Bobby that he owes it to the people that put him in office and try and keep him on the committee. And I can't help but wonder in the back of my mind, is Cliff saying to himself, putting Bobby in the middle of Jock and Miss Ellie could cause more friction in the Ewing family, which makes me happy.
I have a feeling it's something like that. He's not doing it for nice reasons.
Not
He's
for
doing
altruistic reasons.
Right.
I like that word, altruistic.
Never.
That's a good word.
Yes.
It's a fancy word. Yeah, he's being questionable.
And in the back is a Bank of America sign in dark brown and white. Before it went red, white, and blue.
Before a new logo. And so then Bobby walks in the room, and it's really awkward because you could tell they didn't expect to see him again.
And he shouldn't be there. It should not be allowed.
He should not be there. And they're just kind of like, well, I thought you were going to be here. And then Bobby's just like, I'm not going to back down just because it's unpleasant. And
whoa.
I feel like they're kind of like, that's not what we were saying at all.
Cue up the Tom Petty. Cue up Tom Petty. And I won't back.
And it's like the point and over Bobby's head completely. They're kind of like, it's not because it's unpleasant for you. It's because it's not right.
It's conflict of interest.
Yes. Okay, so then we cut to the final scene of the episode where JR goes to Leslie's.
She's wearing that red dress. She is dressed.
Yeah. So he knocks at the door, and we see her inside, and then he's like, it's JR, and then she's like, oh, hold on, I'm not dressed, and then she just runs into the other room, grabs suitcases, and puts them by the door, and you're like, oh,
prop.
What do you do? That's a prop. And then he opens the door, and she's like, I'm leaving town, and I'm like, oh, girl's playing him. Oh.
There's a firm back east that's been courting me for a long time, and I've decided to go work for them, and blah blah blah.
And then he's just like, well, he buys right into it. He's like, well, I'll set you up in your own business. And you can have all the best business and blah, 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 blah.
It's like, what comes with that? What kind of exclusive contract? That's what I want to know, JR.
Right.
What are you trying to, pull here?
And this is when she pulls it out. She's been playing the long game. She's like, I have a problem. I want you. And then JR's like, yeah.
Bullshit, she does.
She didn't want him all along. She was messing with him, pushing him away.
She's been manipulating him the whole time. And then and she's like, but it won't work because you're married. And as long as you're married, it could never work.
He calls Sue Ellen an inconvenience.
Yeah.
He's such an asshole.
Ding him. Ding him.
Garbage bell. And this is when I was like, oh, she has been playing the long game the whole time. And then he's like, so you want me to leave Sue Ellen for you? And she's just like, I want you to do whatever you want to do. Oof.
Bad idea.
Do you hear the sound? That was the other shoe dropping.
Yep. Bad idea jeans, Leslie.
Freeze frame.
Freeze frame.
Freeze frame.
Oh my God. And I gave this one 4.35 bourbons and some hotel room caviar.
I went with a 4.5 and a nice trip to the mountain club.
Nice.
It's Melanie's turn. She's thinking.
I said 4.25 and an uncontrolled woman.
Nice.
Twirl that mustache.
No, you know that Dr. Evil and companies laugh on Austin Powers, the one over and over, you know.
I know it, but I didn't see most of those movies.
Oh my God, you're missing out.
Should we shag now or shall we shag later?
Oh, we shag never.
Before we go, I should let you guys know that we have a few new t-shirts up at and our
Merchandise area? Ooh.
Yeah, and our at tpublic.com, which the link to that should be in your show notes. And we have a couple. If you are a Sue Ellen fan, if you're a Sue Ellen stan,
What is a stan? What's stan? Who's stan?
it means like you're standing with someone. It means like you stand with them forever. You know, like you are loyal.
It's a
Stan?
little
Like
bit more
STAN?
severe than a...
Yes. It's lingo, Josh.
It was coined by Gen Z, I think, not understanding the significance of Stan.
Who's she?
Oh, boy. Stan was a
Who's Gen
song
Z?
by Eminem.
Yes, I know.
Generation Z.
Who's Gen Z? Generation Z.
Oh,
Like Gen X?
I
Gen
thought
Z?
it was a rapper. It could be the name of a rapper.
Sure.
It could be.
It could be, but it's, yeah. Yeah, so anyway, if you are a Sue Ellen stan, we have 2 t-shirts for you. And then we also have a special I Am Takapa t-shirt that is up with all of the names of the people. It's Pat Powers, and Jock and Ray and JR. And it's our special one just for the season. So anyway, there's lots of cool stuff on TeePublic, and I'm gonna try to come up with new stuff. If anybody has any T-shirt ideas, like a dream T-shirt for Dallas, let me know. Because we're trying to add to it. We're trying to have things that you guys would like, and there's not a lot of like cool Dallas stuff out there.
Well, that
we
T-shirt
have,
comes
like,
several
cool,
years later.
like cool, relevant, up to date Dallas stuff. So let us know.
Do they do shot glasses?
Yeah, they're on there.
Oh.
You can buy anything on TeePublic. You can get a shot glass. You can get...
JR shot glasses.
Could do. So anyway, thank you for joining us tonight. We will see you next time.
The Gathering Storm.
Oh, ominous.
Yes. Dun, 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 dun.
Bye.
Y'all come back now, you hear?
I'm an uncontrollable woman.
Yeah, you are.
Tea parties.
Next on Dallas.
You and I are going to be spending a lot more time together. Get to know each other real good, because your mama may not be around much anymore.
I either vote for Mama or Daddy, and either way I lose.
You can do something about it.
Stand up, and I'm going to be counted. Even if we have to leave South Fork.
Miss Ellie, Chuck loves you. I can't put up with the Ewing ways any longer.
Could end in divorce.
A divorce? Come on.
They're only about 4 feet away, Bob. And if that happens, goodbye Ewing oil.